When a billionaire mocked his maid, he never imagined she'd turn his laughter into silence. He waved a document written in ancient Greek and said, "Translate this, and my salary is yours." Everyone laughed, except her. What happened next left the millionaire speechless and changed both their lives. Forever. Translate this, and my salary is yours. Those words cut through the air like thunder. In the grand dining hall of the Huxley mansion, everyone froze. The chefs, the butlers, even the gardener standing at the doorway. Mr. Raymond Huxley, a self-made billionaire, was known for his arrogance as much as his wealth. Every morning he read newspapers in 3 different languages, just to remind everyone how well-educated he was. That morning he held an old parchment. A contract written in ancient Greek? He laughed loudly and said to his staff, "None of you would understand this even if your jobs depended on it." His workers chuckled nervously, not daring to reply. But from a corner of the room, a soft voice spoke up. "Sir, maybe I could try?" It was Lena, the new maid. She was quiet, humble, and barely a few months into the job. Everyone turned to look at her, the girl who barely spoke unless spoken to. Raymond smirked, amused. "You, the maid? Fine, then. If you can translate even one line correctly, I'll give you my entire month's salary." The staff gasped. Raymond's salary was over $500,000. "Deal?" he teased, still laughing. Lena's eyes didn't flinch. "Deal, sir," she said calmly. That confidence made everyone stare. Raymond leaned back in his chair, smiling mockingly. He thought it would be a quick moment of entertainment, a foolish maid embarrassing herself. He didn't know that in a few minutes his arrogance would cost him his pride. Lena walked toward the dining table. Her small hands trembled slightly as she picked up the ancient document. The paper was fragile, the letters strange and faded, yet somehow they felt familiar to her. Raymond crossed his arms. "Go ahead, show us your brilliance," he mocked. She took a deep breath. Her lips moved silently as her eyes scanned the text. Then in a calm voice she spoke. "This passage says, 'A man's worth is not in his gold, but in the hearts he touches.'" The room went completely silent. Raymond blinked, confused. "What did you just say?" Lena repeated the translation, word for word. He grabbed his phone, quickly searched the same passage online, and to his disbelief, she was absolutely correct. She didn't stop there. Line by line, she translated the entire text, fluently, elegantly, and without hesitation. It was as if the words were part of her soul. The butler's jaw dropped. The chef accidentally dropped a tray. Even Raymond, the man who mocked her seconds ago, was frozen in disbelief. When she finished, she gently placed the paper back on the table and said softly, "I believe that's the complete translation, sir." Raymond's throat went dry. How do you know this language?" he asked, stunned. Lena looked down and said quietly, "My father was a professor of ancient languages. I used to study with him every night before he passed away. It's the one thing I never forgot." There was no arrogance in her voice, just honesty. And at that moment, the room full of servants saw what true intelligence looked like. Humble, quiet, and real. That night, Raymond couldn't sleep. He lay in his massive bed, staring at the ceiling, haunted by a maid's voice repeating Greek lines he couldn't understand. He'd built his empire believing money meant superiority, that wealth made him smarter, better, more important. But Lena had shattered that illusion in less than 5 minutes. He remembered her steady eyes, her respectful tone, and the way she didn't even gloat after proving him wrong. She hadn't done it for praise or reward. She had done it simply because she could. The next morning, he called her into his private study. "Lena," he began awkwardly, "about yesterday." She nodded politely, standing straight. "I'm sorry if I overstepped, sir." "You asked, so I tried." Her humility struck him again. Most people he knew bragged about the smallest achievements. Yet this girl acted as if she'd done nothing at all. Raymond sighed. "You didn't overstep. You just opened my eyes." He turned his chair toward the window. "You know, I always thought education came only from the best schools." "I guess I was wrong." Lena smiled softly but said nothing. After a moment, he added, "I made a promise yesterday that if you could translate it, my salary would be yours." She looked shocked. "Oh, sir, please." "I didn't do it for that. I could never take your salary." Raymond smiled faintly. Maybe not my salary, but I owe you something more valuable. Give me a day or two. She bowed respectfully and left the room. That was the first time in years someone had humbled Raymond Huxley, not with power, but with knowledge. 2 days later, Lena was cleaning the grand hall when the butler approached her. "Mr. Huxley would like to see you in his office," he said politely. Her heart pounded as she walked in. Raymond was sitting behind his mahogany desk, a warm smile on his face, something she hadn't seen before. "Lena," he said, standing up, "I did some digging into your background." She tensed up, thinking she might be in trouble. "Relax," he chuckled. "I found out you graduated top of your class in literature, but left your studies after your father passed. You've been working ever since." Her eyes widened. She hadn't told anyone that. "I also spoke to a friend who runs a major language institute downtown," he continued. "They're looking for a translation director. I showed them your work, and they want to meet you." Lena covered her mouth in shock. "Sir, you can't be serious." "Completely serious," he said. "And you'll need this." He slid a laptop toward her, brand new. "A small gift. You'll need it more than a feather duster." Tears welled up in her eyes. "I don't know how to thank you, sir. By doing exactly what you did that day, believing in yourself," he replied gently. For the first time, Raymond saw her smile fully, a genuine, radiant smile that made the entire office brighter. As she left the room, he realized something profound. Sometimes, lifting someone else up is the greatest form of wealth. 6 months later, the city's Cultural Institute hosted a major event. On stage stood Lena, now the director of linguistics, confidently addressing an audience of scholars and journalists. She spoke in 5 different languages, each sentence flowing effortlessly. The crowd was mesmerized. Among them sat Raymond, quietly proud. He had come not as her employer, but as her supporter, the man who once mocked her, now her biggest admirer. When the applause filled the hall, Lena's eyes found him in the crowd. She smiled. After the event, he walked up to her, still stunned. "You were brilliant," he said. "Thank you, sir," she replied warmly. "Do you remember that day?" he asked, chuckling. "When I said, translate this and my salary is yours?" She laughed. "Yes, sir. I think that was the day everything changed." "It was," he nodded. "For both of us." She tilted her head curiously. "For you too?" He sighed. "That day, I realized I'd spent my whole life measuring people by their wealth, and that was my biggest mistake. You taught me that knowledge, humility, and kindness are priceless." Lena's eyes softened. "And you taught me that even the proud can learn to see beyond themselves." They both smiled, sharing a quiet respect only life's lessons can create. As Raymond left the hall that night, he looked up at the stars and whispered, "Never again will I judge a person by their job, only by their heart." As for Lena, she never forgot where she came from. She used her new position to help others like her, hardworking, talented people who just needed someone to believe in them. And every time she looked back on that day, she smiled and whispered, "Sometimes the smallest voice can speak the biggest truth." If you loved this story and believe everyone deserves a chance to shine, hit that like button, a comment respect all to show your support, and subscribe for more heart-touching stories like this one.